My cup is bigger than your cup.
Well, my cup runneth over.
Yeah, mine has big Superman on it. Because I'm a super.
Well, mine was given to me by a beloved student, and it has my first letter on it, so mine's better. Take that.
Okay.
So, everyone, welcome to the Alex and Mark Show. My name is Alex Madajan, and that is Professor Mark McIntyre.
Hello.
And we are ever so wonderfully graced, especially in this time of quarantine. I'd like to remind you that not all of us are locked inside. Some of us are able to break out. Even, I would say Jesus Christ is the most prevalent example of breaking out of his quarantine. See, one would think that death would imprison you for all of eternity, but when you happen to be the Son of God, it turns out you cannot be locked forever in quarantine, no matter what the government says, even if they kill you. Now,
That's good.
He did it all for free. However, we are not, as much as Mark McIntyre would like to believe it, he's not the Son of God.
No,
and so,
nor are you. Nor are you.
And no amount of money will be able to break us out of the chains of death. However, we would still like you to give us money anyway. We're on a donation in all seriousness, we're a donation basis. We both do this in our spare time, and we'd very much appreciate.
We are a listener-supported enterprise.
Oh, okay, PBS man, and we would appreciate a PayPal or monthly donation. But we'd also really like your following, your sharing, subscribing. That really helps us a lot, and we'd appreciate it. So today, since it's so close to Easter, I think it's most appropriate we stop talking about the stupid sickness and talk about more theological and something philosophical, or not doom and gloom. We're all going to die.
And happy Holy Week to you, Alex.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm over here on the East Coast. We don't have any palms like we do in Santa Barbara, so I'm sure you had a much better Palm Sunday than I did, but.
Well, actually, brother Troy Warden, and I, we were swapping films that we were watching for Holy Week. He was watching Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston. I was watching Ben-Hur with Charlton Heston.
Oh,
and
excuse me.
Yeah. So we were comparing notes. So that's how we celebrate it. But it reminded me. You said something last week in preparation for Holy Week. We were just talking about whether or not belief in the resurrection is actually a requirement to be a Christian. And I'd like you to drill down on why did you ask the question, first of all?
Well, I don't remember the exact circumstances of why I asked it. Aside from it being the Nicene Creed and all that stuff, just putting that in a box and moving it aside, the philosophical implications are, well, the whole reason why the resurrection had to happen. There's very little question from a Christian standpoint that Jesus needed to die for our sins from a salvation standpoint. But then comes the question, well, why did he have to raise himself from the dead? Why did he have to do that part? After all, it's difficult to believe. You might be able to believe that he was the Son of God and that he died for our sins, but why does he have to resurrect himself? Mm-hmm. And I would say, and Paul would agree with me in First Corinthians, that without the resurrection, our faith is in vain. Because how can you expect Jesus to save us from spiritual death if he can't save himself from death? And, you could just go on, well, it's all spiritual, but no, well, yes, but I'd say he had to physically resurrect himself because spiritual matters are very abstract and difficult for us to focus on.
Yeah.
For there being a both physical and spiritual resurrection of Jesus, it gives us a hope that we can actually believe, something that we can all tangibly hold on to, I would say. So that's a pragmatic, a bit more of a practical explanation as to why. I come to the belief. I mean, you don't. You've left the Catholic Church many years ago. Mm-hmm. You're one of the beloved faithless that we ever try to give more faith to. Do you have a particular reason to doubt on a philosophical or theological basis?
First of all, I'm not faithless.
Oh, I know. I
can't get out of bed. I can't get out of bed in the morning. I don't see how anybody can get out of bed in the morning if they're just going to be conducting science Science, I mean, for what? Why are you going to put on your white lab coat and go data, 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 ding, ding, ding? I mean, that's rather boring and senseless. No, so I am a person of faith, but I don't have. The reason I went into the monastery was because I did not believe certain fundamental dogmas, the resurrection being one of them. And but I could understand it, and I'll tell you how I worked it out psychologically. This being the postmodern period, where everything is psychology and nothing is philosophy. Let me give you a psychological analysis as to why I do believe that if you're going to be a Christian, which I do not consider myself to be, I'm a Pantheist Stoic, not a Christian. But if I were going to be a Christian, it would be because I accepted the idea that God did give his only son, himself, actually, and came to earth, lived the life of a human being, and suffered the psychological trauma of death that all human beings are heir to. And I think it was a brilliant thing of the Christian church to capitalize on that, because what psychological practicum does religion provide for humans? It provides us the ability to whistle past the graveyard. Nobody wants to die, or at least they certainly, some people don't mind dying. They don't mind death, but they what they mind is the dying. And we're seeing this today with the coronavirus thing. So the idea of immortality, of living forever after you physically die, is a psychologically powerful, winning dogma for the Christians to advocate. So I completely understand why they do it. It's very effective, because then they can say, well, I don't have to vote for any politician. I'm going to go to the next life, and I'm going to be, my ass is going to be upon butter.
I'm going to get all the free college I want.
Right. Exactly.
And the free healthcare and all that.
So anyway, that's my take on it, is that you cannot be, I agree with you, but for very different reasons. You cannot be a Christian. You cannot be a Christian unless you accept, as C.S. Lewis pointed out, Christianity is unique in the world religions. If you take out reincarnation, which is not a religion, by the way, despite what Michael Shermer has to say, if you exempt incarnation, then Christianity is the only religion that we know of that promises you an afterlife. The Muslims sort of do, but it's not hooked up to your behavior here on earth, except if you get killed in a holy war, a jihad.
Well,
then you get two versions.
I disagree. I would say a lot of religion, I mean, that's basically a mandatory requirement for all new religions, is you have to have some afterlife, unless you want to do the incarnation thing. What makes Christianity unique in respect to the afterlife is it's not achieved by works. It's achieved by grace, namely the sacrifice that Jesus made. And I think that it is a very postmodern interpretation, Jesus dying, to make us feel good about death. I definitely do think that you've been tainted by the Catholic postmodernist.
I don't believe it. I'm just presenting it.
This is why I'll never let you teach in front of a pulpit. This is why. There's the physical pain, which is the easiest for us to grasp. You know, it talks about how he was tortured by the Romans, he was slapped, he was mocked, you had to walk through the streets of Jerusalem.
Yeah, I saw Mel Gibson's movie.
That's actually the movie I plan on watching this Easter. I haven't seen it yet, so don't tell me how it ends.
I'm going to do that too. We're going to do that too.
But don't tell me how it ends. So I know the book's better, but don't tell me how it ends.
You know how it ends. Okay.
We can very easily imagine the physical pain, but it's very hard for us to fathom the spiritual pain. The psychological pain, we can kind of see it. He just got betrayed and left for dead by his disciples. But getting nailed in the wrist or the hand by a nail and then just being hung up there, that's very painful. But then when you consider the guilt and shame of all of humanity, the guilt and shame of sin, the guilt and shame of moral failures, all of that compounded into one person. That to me is all that physical stuff was just the mere warm up. Taking on, I mean, just thinking about me, myself, compressing all of my emotional guilt and all my pain and taking it on himself for my sake. To me, that's in and of itself is incredible. But then you have the resurrection, which is, I mean, the Bible really champions this over. Another reason why you have to believe in the resurrection if you're Christians, because it's very clear in the Bible, if Jesus did not resurrect himself, it demonstrates he has no power over death. And there's no reason for you to believe he has power over, your death.
Right.
So that's my philosophical, non-tainted by your postmodern feelings, stuff and all that. But
well, I mean, you have to admit, even Judaism does not believe in an afterlife.
There's no clear, they don't really know what they believe after death. Well,
No. You, if you've lived a good life, you'll live in the memory of your progeny, and that's why they donate buildings. That's why with their names on it. That's why they patronize the arts, because it's how you live on after in the memory of your family and your friends and your society. That's the afterlife for Judaism. They sort of vaguely have this idea of being unified with God, but there's no detail like in the Christian church. Yeah. There's no detail. And because of that, they don't have to get all balled up in people floating around on clouds and Blessed Virgin Mary orbiting around Pluto. I mean, where is this body of Christ?
Propaganda stops there. Guys, we're running out of time right now.
How convenient for you. We're running out of time. Very convenient.
Saint Mary over there wishes to give her regards,
Cross, you're going to cut me off. Okay.
My word. I mean, seriously, the Catholic Church should hire you for giving their talking points. But we are running out of time. Seriously, though, we do wish you a very happy Resurrection Day, a very good Friday. God bless you all. Be saved or not. We love you very much. And Merry Christmas, too.
Bye, Alex.